Welcome to Haxby Shed. This is my son's GPZ 500 and he's brought it round to work on it. He's replacing the steering bearings. He bought the bike in good faith a few years ago, but when he got it home he found that the forks were bent and he thought, well, okay, you can buy second-hand forks for these, they're not too expensive, let's not worry, let's just buy some cheap ones and fit them. But then when he fitted those, it still didn't ride right, and then he worked out that the headstock had been bent. Obviously it had quite a crash at some point, and by that stage it was getting a bit too late to go back to the guy who sold it to him, and so he looked out for a second-hand frame in good condition, which he managed to find, and then he got it powder coated. He re-registered the frame to the bike to make it all legal. But it was a typical case of an escalation of commitment. He probably wouldn't have bought it in the first place had he realised there was so much to be done. These are taper bearings, aftermarket, because I think the original bearings were ball bearings. And it's quite easy to get the outer cup of the top steering bearing out. Difficult to say all that. You can get something in behind the outer cup and wedge it out of the steering tube, but it's a lot more difficult to do the one at the bottom because it's set much deeper in. It's not difficult to get the forks and the fork yoke out, and when you do, you can then access the bottom of the steering tube, but as you can see, the outer cup is quite deep inside, so he's been using a die grinder powered from the compressor to grind out and cut through this outer cup. Well, he's not quite finished yet, but it's mostly done, and we can do this without damaging the frame and steering tube. We need to get to a point where we can crack it, the outer race, and then pop it out. So my son's here and he's going to do a bit more work on the bike. This is the die grinder, so we'll see this in action. Well, this outer race bearing cup is trying to be as difficult as possible. We've actually cut pretty much all the way through it with the die grinder and it still won't move. So what we've done is just welded a bit of metal to it, which we can either twist or hit or push or whatever at our leisure to get this darn thing out. Right, well, we've just got it out, knocked it out from the top with a bar, and here it is somewhere here. Oh, there we are. Yes, well, we had ground right through it. You can see that. Well, that wasn't a bad bit of welding to say it was upside down. We've just used the die grinder to clean up the rough edges that we'd created just knocking it about, and we're about to push in the new outer race. We've rigged up this drawbar with a socket on the top and the bottom, and then some threaded bar through the centre, and then we'll pull the bottom race into position because it is very tight. There we are. Okay, well, with a bit of a struggle, because it was wanting to cockle over to one side, we've pulled it all the way in now with this improvised tool. After all that work, it looks just the same as it did. But we know this one matches the inner roller race that we've got. The top yoke's on and the stanchions are going in. We're just setting these to the right height so they're both the same and to spec. Okay, I think that covers the replacements of the head steering bearings. I hope it was useful to you. Thank you for watching Haxby Shed.